We are here with Carl Dupre, and of course, we're celebrating the 40th anniversary of Kiss. And of course, Carl, for those who don't know, wrote this wonderful thing, a little movie called Detroit Rock City. So I guess the first question is, somebody in the Kiss office must have sat down and come up with this concept. How did that concept get to you to be the writer? Who
All right,
comes to
you
you?
are you ready for this? This sort of story always knocks people over the head. I wrote Detroit Rock City in the privacy of my apartment,
Okay.
disconnected from anybody having anything to do with Kiss. And I was told at one point it was kind of a big mistake because I shouldn't have put a known entity in my script that I didn't have a connection to.
Oh,
But
so
that's the first.
so
Um,
you wrote this. You weren't commissioned to do this. You wrote this, and then they found you.
Yes, it was a
Okay.
spec script that I wrote, but there's a parallel here because they were working with New Line Cinema. Kiss was working with New Line Cinema on an idea for a Kiss movie, and they had all sorts of things going on over there. All kinds of ideas were coming through the pipeline, and they didn't have they had some things that see was kind of close, but not really. But if I can back up just for a
Yeah.
minute, the thing that inspired me to write the movie was I was working in the editing room of this film that took place in the 1970s. It was called uh, The Stoned Age,
Right.
and there was like this band. There's kind of like this Blue Oyster Cult kind of soundtrack. There's these Blue Oyster Cult fans, and I mean it wasn't like Detroit Rock City at all. But I got into a conversation with the editor, and I said, somebody's gotta make an I Want to Hold Your Hand type movie, but with Kiss as the Holy Grail. And the editor, who's like one of the biggest Kiss fans I've ever met, said, "Oh yeah, you got to write that." And fast forward to
Were you a
oh, I
Kiss
don't know,
fan?
it was what's that?
Were you a Kiss fan, or did you just think Kiss is sort of this larger than life band that I know about, and I'm gonna?
Well, it's I guess it's more the latter,
Okay.
but I can't call myself like. I mean, I think Kiss to me is all about for me personally. It's about 1978,
Right.
Kiss Alive 2, Destroyer, Love Gun. That area. That's when I saw Kiss. Basically, that's when I saw Kiss, and the world of rock and roll basically
Okay.
opened up to me from that. They were this platform. They got me to listen to album-oriented rock stations. They got me to go into record stores and start. So I found the Who, Pink Floyd, and Led Zeppelin through Kiss. They opened the door for
Right.
me.
So you started
Um,
at the best, and then went down to those lesser
yeah,
bands.
exactly. But
Of course.
but um, what happened was I just remember like and Kiss is a very movie sort of
Sure.
friendly band because they're so visual
Right.
and they're so just
Cinematic.
out there. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And so I started writing this thing and I kind of gave up on it after like 20 pages. So I remember the first draft, and then I went out to lunch with this editor and the director of that movie, The Stoned Age, and the editor sitting there telling the director, yeah. So Carl's working on this movie about a bunch of kids going to see a Kiss concert, and I'm saying to myself, I am. And this director's like, "Wow, that sounds really awesome. I want to see it when you're done. When are you going to be done?" And I'm like sitting there going, "Geez, I gave up on this. I don't know, but however." And the editor said, "Oh, yeah, he's been working on it for about like 6 months now, right, Carl?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah." Like it was one of these like Hollywood sort of moments, but it was funny because
Right.
they were friends of mine too. But I said, "You know what? I'm in the right place at the right time here. I got to take advantage of this." Yeah, it'll take me like 2 or 3 more months to finish. I went like that, and I just kind of I sort of like bore down, and I was so like I was one of those screenwriters. I got to Hollywood, and I'm like buying all these books on how to write screenplays and look at like 3 act structures, and I'm looking like so this should happen by page 10, this should happen by page 60, and I said, you know what, I'm just going to write a story with a beginning, a middle, and an end, and it kind of came out of me like that, and I finished it, and again, there's a lot of components that go into like the writing of a script, but basically, I kind of tried to incorporate everything, like the feeling of going having that ticket, on the day of the concert, and that feeling of excitement after all this time, you're finally going to get to see the concert. And these kids were kind of based on friends of mine when I was a kid, and just trying to incorporate as many of those wild, like, sort of concert stories, like the day of the concert, like all these wacky things happen. And the best story I ever heard was this kid and his friends. They beat each other up to get into a concert. They beat each other up, and then they said, "Yeah, we're these guys, like, they mugged us. They took our tickets, and they got to see a concert for free." And I said, "Oh, I got to put that in there." So I had all these things going, and I finally I showed the script to this director, and the director was like, "Wow, this is a really good script. So what does Kiss think of it?" I go, "Oh, well, I don't know. Kiss hasn't read it." He goes, "Well, how are you getting it to him, right?" I said, "No, I'm not. I don't know Kiss." This guy's like, "What are you, an idiot?
No,
you don't know Kiss? You wrote the script." So that was the end of that for a little while, for like, I want to say a year or whatever.
So I mean, the movie came out in '99. So are we at '96? Are we at '97? Yes. Or are we like even further back?
We're at 90 right now. We're at 96.
Okay, so you're in the reunion tour. You're
well, that's what
stuff.
So I'm working as an editor on this other movie now, and I'm working with I was an assistant editor, and I'm working with another assistant editor, and this guy knows an actor who's like a huge Kiss fan, and he wants to play Ace Frehley in the Ace Frehley story. And
now, wait a minute. Is the Ace Frehley story another movie, or is this part of this?
Well, it never got made. It was.
But there was an Ace Frehley story movie being talked about. Okay, interesting.
This guy was kind of spearheading. His name is Kevin Corrigan. He's an independent movie actor.
Okay.
But
I like that. That should get made.
Yeah, I know. But he was like, looking for something like that. But anyway, he got Detroit Rock City. I gave the script to this assistant editor. We were just exchanging stories about what we were working on, and he goes, "Oh, I should show that to my buddy in New York. He loves Kiss." So he sent it to this kid, and this actor sends the script to his manager, who sends the script to her partner, who sends the script to somebody else, and it's like it winds up on the desk of Barry Levine, right?
Nice.
This is the first time he's meeting with him and this casting director are thinking of starting a production company, and he sits down with her, and she goes, "Oh, I just got this script, Detroit Rock City," because the guy says, "Oh, I used to photograph Kiss, and I'm actually going to London to photograph the reunion." So she goes, "Oh, here, I got this Detroit." He's like, "Detroit Rock City, wow," So he reads it on the plane, and he gives it to Doc McGee when he gets off the plane. So basically what happened was, I give this script, or this assistant editor
desk.
Friend, he gives it to Kevin Corrigan on Monday, right? The Friday of the next week, I get this call from Barry Levine. He goes, "Yeah, Gene loves the script." I'm like, "Gene, wait, now who's Gene?" Because I had all these like people that I had to like all the scripts where I was like, "Who?" He goes, "Gene Simmons. What do you think?" And I was like, "Oh my God!" I couldn't believe it. So Kiss got attached after the fact. Like, it was this backwards retrofitted. It was retrofitted,
right.
And after that, it became a lot of doors opened up. Basically, once Kiss was on board. And they really liked that. Kiss actually they were looking for these ideas for movies that starred them, sort of like the Phantom of the Park, that had them as the characters. But they really loved the idea of them being, like Gene Simmons was saying, it's like Godzilla. You're waiting 3/4 of the movie. He's like, "Oh, he's coming." You can hear like the footsteps, and that's that. They got off on all that. They loved that, and it was it wasn't like 100% smooth sailing, but I think in terms of Hollywood, it was a very, very fast. It was a very fast deal. From the time that the script was basically the time New Line got the script to when they greenlit it to when it was shot, it was like less than a year.
Well, okay, so let's walk through that process a little slower than that. Now, I find it interesting that it wasn't commissioned. I always thought that it had to be Gene or Paul or Doc who said, "Let's make a movie and let's find some guys to do it." So that's already interesting to know that it didn't work that way. But once Gene gets it and he makes that call, does he walk you through the script and say, okay, on page 3, I don't like the way you said that. Can you change this? Or there's not enough of this in here. There's not enough Kiss music. Can you? Does he start with modifications right away, or are there any? Or do they just say, okay, let's get this to a director. Let's pitch this to a studio. Where do we go from that Gene phone call?
We went briefly to Fox TV, and they wanted and what Gene's idea then, and Gene did do that, but it was kind of a different movie. What we wanted to do was like these kids in 1978 grown up,
right,
going to see Kiss at the reunion, and
okay, interesting.
That which was an interesting spin, and he had a whole like storyline and all that, and then what happened was Fox dropped out eventually, and I think it was because they had changed.
Changed management.
Changed heads. You know,
but Fox was working, for people who don't remember historically here, Fox was working a lot with Kiss. They did the Halloween special. They did another TV, like a comedy show or whatever. There was a lot of Kiss and Fox going on in those years.
Yeah, there was. They were connected. And actually, what did I see? I saw an episode of Family Guy not too long after that. It was a Kiss episode of Family Guy, which I'm sure you're familiar with. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, that's cool, because the Kiss's influence is still strong over there. Or it was at that time.
Absolutely.
But they changed over. They changed presidents, and that kind of got swept under the rug.
Typical Hollywood story.
Yeah. But right after that, New Line had been working on this idea for a Kiss movie, and it got over there. And
what was New Line's version of a Kiss movie? When you say they were working on one, were they working on this concept of this '96 reunion and it's 40? The 40-year-olds get back together. Did they have a completely different concept?
No, they had some wild ideas, and actually, these are questions more for. Do you know Tim Sullivan at all?
I've heard the name. Yeah.
He worked over at New Line, and he was a real champion. He was actually a real champion of this script. And of course, and he is one of the biggest Kiss fans I've ever met in my life. But he worked closely with like Michael DeLuca when Michael DeLuca was at New Line, and they were trying to like come up with all kinds of things. And what was he? One of the things he said was there was like a medieval idea where Kiss were like knights in medieval times, and then there was another one where there was a post-apocalyptic.
Strangely, I like that. That sounds wacky enough to be funny.
And there was like a post-apocalyptic world that Kiss has to save.
Well, luckily Metallica just made that movie, so.
Oh, it's hilarious. That's hilarious. That's hysterical.
Okay, so there was all kinds of like really whacked out concepts. So, all right, so the movie gets greenlit, production starts. How do you start scouting for locations? Where do they decide? How are these it ended up in Hamilton in Ontario, Canada. How do you end up in Hamilton? Why not San Diego? Why not Chicago? Why not Detroit? It's Detroit.
Right. Well, all those questions can be answered with economics and convenience and
availability of venues and
connections. And Toronto is an easier. And I would imagine I don't think I'm talking through my neck here when I say it's probably a little bit more or less expensive, I should say, to shoot in Toronto.
Absolutely. In 1996-97, the Canadian dollars was about 16% off the American buck. So right there, right off the top, you're saving 20%. And I live in Canada, and I know we have government tax credits and foreign company movie tax credits. They want movie business. Montreal, Vancouver, Toronto, they all want movie business, and companies come.
Yep. Well, that's it's I just wanted to address your question though. Right. I know you asked it a few times back. Was the script, because this movie was greenlit so fast, New Line Cinema put it into production so quickly. They didn't have time to mess around with any rewrites.
Okay.
And I also, this is like the biggest coincidence, but blessing of them all, was the person who wound up directing it, Adam Rifkin.
Right.
I worked with him on several movies, and actually it was his friend and like close personal like editor, the guy who has edited almost all of his movies. His name is Peter Schink. He was the editor on that 70s movie with James Malcony in the Stoned Age. He was
Right.
the one that took me out to lunch. And those guys wound up working on this movie. Adam Rifkin directed it, and Adam was aware when I was writing this movie. He knew of it. We'd be talking about it and stuff because he's experienced writer director, and he was one of these people that I would be saying, hey, yeah, I'm working on this movie. It's about Kiss. And his good friend Peter, who's like this, him and Tim Sullivan really go neck and neck.
Right.
Like Peter Schenck had a Kiss pinball machine in his house. You know what I mean? So. And I mean that's among other things. It's like he's got so much Kiss stuff. It's unbelievable. But anyway, these guys all safeguarded the script too, is what I'm saying.
Now for the fan that doesn't know, walk us through the process. So the movie has started, production is up and running. You've written this script. Do they say thank you and send you home, or do they bring you into the tent and then you have to write and rewrite and make a comment? I mean, where does your job stop and where does it keep? Like, just explain what it is to be a writer on a movie.
All right. Well, most writers can tell you that in Hollywood, as far as full-length feature films goes, the director is the buck stops there with the director. So the writer is the writer's kind of a sideman in that deal. It's
but
it's
you're
the
part of the production.
Yeah, but okay. I mean, you can't. The story's got to come from somewhere, which is it's key. The story's got to come from somewhere, and they, like I said, Adam Rifkin, he's a writer director himself, and he knows what a writer has to go.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's very empathetic that way, but. Like I said, they took the script, they kind of ran with it, and anytime there were any changes that needed to be made, right. Adam would call me up and say, we need a scene where this happens, which didn't happen that often, and 9 times out of 10, I had taken so many scenes out when I did, like, the first pass on this was probably about 30 pages longer, and I pulled out so many scenes that when they asked me about something, I usually I had it in my archives.
Gotcha.
Okay. I had it in my archives. So, but I was mainly I was in L.A. They were shooting in Toronto, but I flew up there for like 3 days, and they were very nice about it. They pulled me on the set, and of course at that time, right before when Kiss got back together, Barry Levine was shooting this. This was really great. This is like one of the high points of my life, actually. He's shooting this tour book,
right?
And
great.
I wound up
book.
I wound up sitting in when they were shooting with Kiss, and I got to sit down and I got to talk with all those guys. I got to know them, and all their. I mean, it's wild, these guys. They're all standing around you in these like. The 7-inch boots, you know what I mean? And they're all towering over you, and they got the makeup on. And it really is like, it's very surreal. And one of these, like, I was like, wow, this is incredible.
And how was it in that room? Was it cordial? Was it businesslike? Was there conflict? Was it tense, or was it, how was?
Well, there was no conflict to speak of.
Okay.
But I could say Gene and Paul are a lot more sort of gregarious and I don't know, like they're more outgoing, okay. And the other two, to me at least, they were quieter, but you could still talk to them. They were very they were approachable still, but they weren't coming up to you going, hey, this,
Okay. But there was no drama. There was no yelling and screaming and breaking of chairs. I mean, it was all very okay.
It was very professional, yeah,
okay.
And it was really cool. And I mean, I still have that picture. I have a picture where it was like kind of a Detroit Rock City Kiss pic, where it was all the people that were involved in the movie and Kiss. At least as far as producer, director, the New Line representatives, Barry. There were a few other, Kathleen Haas, of course, Brian Whitten, Adam. Tim Sullivan, Pete, we all like crowded around Kiss. It was like one of those high school pictures. It was awesome. It was really, it was amazing, and it was a slam dunk for me. And I mean, for me, being a fan to the extent that that was to see them in concert and to just experience that Kiss phenomenon, and to be able to be part of that Kiss phenomenon for that, like, it was that period of time was just like, it was mind blowing. It was awesome. I mean, I
Yeah,
can't.
it must have been awesome. And so now, when they were filming the concert footage that they did out at the Cops Coliseum in Hamilton, were you involved in that at all? Did you fly up and actually see them doing those performances?
Yes, I did. It was great. They actually made me up. They gave me these big mutton chop sideburns so that I'd look like
From the
I kind of looked
70s?
like I kind of looked like Neil Young,
Oh,
but
great.
but I think I was in the movie for about 5 minutes. They had me. I was like, yeah, because you can see Pete Schenck, the editor, in there really briefly.
All right.
But they had a shot of me too, and go, yeah, and for some reason I wound up on the cutting room floor. So I'm like, well, isn't that just like the writer to get,
Yeah. But then again, maybe you're on the bonus features of the
well,
DVD. Who knows?
I'm on the cast and crew commentary.
Oh, are you? Okay.
I'm in there. I'm in the crew.
I got to tell
With
you, I haven't watched this DVD since like 99 or 2000, so I don't remember what all the special features were. It's been like 14 years since I've watched it.
wow.
Gonna have to be weekend viewing, I think.
Well, check it out because I think you can actually like look at the script there too. So you can look at my
Right.
script. You can see my words there, but that was really crazy. That was awesome. Like there were hundreds of extras, including myself. And the cameras, like they were like, I can't remember how many cameras they had, but they had cameras on cranes, they had cameras on dollies, they had cameras on swings, whatever. Every it was like Kiss does a movie. If you think like how would Kiss shoot a movie? Well, they'd have like a bunch of cameras. They'd have all like one on a pinwheel and the other. It was like, and they had like a that shot going that's inside Gene's mouth, looking out with the tongue flap.
Right.
This apparatus that like was. I was like, this is it was Kiss does a movie. You know what I mean? And it was the Ace is playing his guitar solo, and the guitar is supposed to smoke. And like here's you get like the Ace Frehley sense of humor, but there's a mess up, and the smoke wasn't coming out of the guitar, and he's just standing there, and they had to cut. They're like, what's wrong with the guitar? And Ace just goes up to the microphone and goes, I think this guitar is too young to smoke. It was just one of those like little moments there. Yeah,
That's funny.
That's what it's about. It's Kiss,
So looking back, because it's 14 years, 15 years later, I guess.
It is.
Do you look at the movie and go, oh, I should have changed this, I should have done that, or do you go, you know what, this holds up pretty good. This is pretty damn good for what it is.
Well, I did see it last summer again, and
Okay.
like you, I hadn't seen it in a few years, but I saw it and I'm like, yeah, this is a good movie. This is still like I still get that same feeling that I did the first time I saw it. And I mean, I know I wrote it, but it's like it's my kind of movie. It's I mean, I know it says the Kiss movie, but it's a Carl Dupre movie too. I mean,
Right.
because and I just mean in terms of my sensibilities
Right.
and what entertains me. And it's still I can't believe that I was involved. I was able to get involved with this the way I was. I'm sure they would have eventually done a Kiss movie, but
Well, they would have done
they would have done that
post-apocalyptic Kiss
medieval.
Saves the World. Oh, that would have been great. I vote for that. After this movie came out, or during this, was there any talk of sequel, part two, other projects, or was it let's do this and see? I mean, did they ever have anything
Yeah.
else on the burner? I mean,
Well, for a brief time they had a sequel, and there was also a project called Battle of the Bands that we were going to do with the cast. And there was talks of get the original cast from Detroit Rock City and do a movie, but do it without Kiss. Do that these guys in the rock band,
right.
and do their story. And yeah, there was another one. But very briefly, there was a talk of doing another Kiss. Another Detroit Rock City.
Wow.
But it never came to be. It was talk basically was what it was.
Yeah, that's part of the Hollywood thing. A lot of talk and sometimes some action, but a lot of talk.
Yeah, it is.
Now, for fans who just know you through this Kiss movie, what else have you done? I mean, you've done other things. I've checked out over the filmography, and it's quite impressive.
Oh well, thank you. Yeah, right around Detroit Rock City sold. I had written a horror script which never got made, but it opened a lot of doors for me at different, for different like Dimension Films, which did the Prophecy movies with Christopher Gabriel.
Right.
Christopher Walken is the angel Gabriel. And I worked on, I like to call it the third chapter in the epic. It was the Prophecy 3.
Right.
And also Hellraiser, a couple of Hellraiser movies, with Pinhead.
Gotta love those.
And so there's mainly been like a kind of horror thing going on since then. And most recently I worked on this an independent horror movie called Incubus with a K. But it was with the guy who played Freddy Krueger, Robert Englund.
Right. You got to use the Gene song "Unholy" in the soundtrack because the first line of that is "I am the incubus." That's the first line.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's good. Man, that's
I'll
great.
take a writing credit for that. Or
yeah. And it's I keep wanting to, like, it would be great to do another comedy. It would be great to do some other horror movies, but just looking to branch out further and do other things as well.
Now, if people want to find you online or anything, is there a Facebook, a Twitter? Where can people track you down? Say hello and say thank you.
All right. Well, I'm going to. Yeah, I'm going to give a couple of shameless plugs here from I'm trying to pimp out these pages. One is carldupre.com/blog.
Okay.
So Carl Dupre, all one word, .com.
Now you're Carl V. Dupre. Is there a V in that, or just Carl Dupre?
For that one, it's a little bit confusing here, but sometimes I am credited as Carl Dupre, and other times I'm credited as Carl V. Dupre. So there's a carldupre.com/blog. There's that. Then there's Twitter at Carl V. Dupre.
Gotcha.
And my Facebook page, facebook.com/Carl V. Dupre. So Twitter and Facebook have the V's in them. Always looking for likes and always looking for followers. And I'm also looking to follow and also looking to like. I like you guys. I'm following you too.
Yeah. So I mean, believe me, in the Kiss world, as soon as you ask for likes, you'll get a good 500-600 almost the next morning. So you're in good shape right there.
All right, right on.
Is there anything else you'd want to add to the story of Detroit Rock City?
Well, the only thing that I'm going to say is it was a real privilege being able to work on this piece of history. That people would say that to me. They go like, "You're an inexorable part of history now." And I'll pick up a book on Kiss, and I'll see the Detroit Rock City section. I'll see my name in there. I'm like in there. It's wild. And also, it was a dream come true. Just as a screenwriter, it was a dream come true to have something happen so quickly that they couldn't mess with my words. Because after that, believe me, I had experiences on movies where they're like, nah, this is the page one rewrite, and I wound up rewriting the whole thing, and so it was really nice. It was a dream project from start to finish, 100%, and I still love it. And
correct me if I'm wrong, and we'll make this maybe as our last statement. But every time somebody has worked with Kiss on a project, I'm always told it's very professional, it's very courteous. There's no nonsense. They know what they want. And that's what it sounds like here. They took the script, they liked the script, and they didn't play with you and say, "Oh, let's mess." Right? And then they treated you right. They flew you up. I mean, is that about right? Working with Kiss is just a really great experience?
I would say so, and especially I think Gene he's an entertainer, but he's also a very good businessman, and a very good businessman all the way around. In other words, he just he knows how to get things accomplished, and like you say, they know exactly what they want, then they know how to get it, and
they treat people right.
Yeah, it added to the good fortune.
Yeah, because I mean, this interview could have gone a whole different way. You could have come on here and bitched for half an hour, but people don't do that when they work with Kiss. They treat people right.
They do, absolutely, they do. It was a wonderful experience, and
Yeah.
yes,
And I'll just throw one more thing. Normally, when you think Kiss, you always think Gene and Paul are in control of the whole thing. But you've mentioned Gene a lot more. Was Paul absent on this one, or was he just less involved? Or did he just say, listen, Gene, this is your baby, and I'll trust you on this one? Or,
I think he trusted Gene on this when he gave it to
okay.
Gene and let Gene go with it. And Paul had other projects going on at the time. There were other things that he was. I think not too much later he wound up in Phantom of the Opera and all
Oh,
that.
correct.
He
Right.
was getting he was paying more attention to that stuff. And
Okay. So Gene was your point
so
man. Gene, maybe, and Doc McGee, I guess, were your point men on this one.
Gene and Doc, yeah,
Yeah.
I'd say that's pretty. They pretty much did a 50-50 type thing.
Gotcha.
In terms of like the meetings that I went on, was Gene and Doc
Okay. Great.
mostly.
Well,
So
Carl, thank you. It's been this a great Kistery story, right? How do you?
yes.
That's a little
I'm a-
confusing to say, but it's a great story.
Oh well, thank you very much. Thank you for having me on,
Yeah.
and I'm a fan, and so
Keep watching, and we'll all go out there and get all those other movies, the Hellraisers and stuff, and
great,
keep the name active.
nice.
So let me
All
just
right,
turn off this recording a second. But thank you very much.